Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. I'm your host for the next few hours, Carissa Kranz, and today we are following closely two trials. Our main trial is the Coggins Trial. The defendant, Gebhardt, is a standing trial right now. They're on break. We're following it. It's a racially motivated cold case murder from 1983. Timothy Coggins was murdered because he allegedly socialized with a white woman, the defendant's lady friend, who he was supposedly dating or allegedly seeing. Witnesses have testified, and we've heard these witnesses, who are also in jail right now, and that Mr. Gebhardt admitted to the killing. New evidence linked Frank Gebhardt and others to the 1983 lynching. This was a brutal murder. As you see on the screen, that is the victim, Timothy Coggins, and he was allegedly stabbed 38 times, sliced up, and then tied to the back of a truck and dragged up and down a rural road outside of Georgia before he was left. And brutally killed. Really a sad murder. Right now, the state has rested. The defense is going to call one more witness. They're on break right now, and we're going to keep a close eye on this and in this courtroom because this is our main trial. Another case we're following closely, we've been referring to it as the Marine murders case. We should expect closing arguments possibly today. They are also on break right now. A Marine was killed trying to rescue his wife. This Kentucky pair is on trial for murder and assault in relation to an incident outside a bar in 2014. The two men, Quincinio Canada and Dewan Mulazam, allegedly approached Jonathan Price and his wife, Megan, when one of them tried to steal Megan's purse. Jonathan, her husband, got involved and a fight ensued. The corporal, Jonathan Price, was fatally shot in the back, and Megan suffered gunshot wounds to her leg, which is still crippling her today. Both men are also connected to a robbery, which occurred 6 days before, and that connection was made through a gun, which we can discuss. This is a death penalty trial and another case we're following closely. And also with me on Skype is criminal investigator Charles Mittelstadt, and he will be helping us analyze these trials. Charles, are you with me?
I am.
Before we go to today's top crime stories, do you have anything to add on this Marine murder trial and this gun? You're a criminal investigator that linked these two murders together.
Unfortunately, I got to tell you, Carissa, I know nothing about that case. I was prepared to talk about the Leslie Kelly case, but I know nothing about that one, unfortunately.
Okay, well, apparently there was a gun, so don't worry about it, but apparently there was a gun that was found on the victims, and the bullets were somehow linked to the crimes 2 days later for the Marine murder trial. And, you know, I'm not a criminal investigator, I'm a former prosecutor, but I know that linking evidence through guns is always a key piece of evidence that the jury likes to hear. But
no question.
Nonetheless, let's go to today's top crime stories.
Here are today's top crime stories trending on lawandcrime.com and across the country. A woman was arrested with minor injuries after her out-of-control car went airborne and crashed into a gas station in Mississippi. 24-year-old Shelby Lynn May was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol after allegedly speeding at 100 miles per hour before her vehicle did a 180-degree flip midair and crashed into a gas station in Flowood. May is seen walking away from the crash and luckily only suffered minor injuries. A man who reportedly cut his pregnant wife's arm off and fled New York City was taken into custody near Niagara Falls. 35-year-old Yang Liu was charged with first-degree assault for allegedly cutting off the right arm and 2 fingers on the left hand of his pregnant wife, 31-year-old Li Yang. Liu was arrested near Niagara Falls with a life jacket, and investigators believe he was planning to swim to Canada to evade justice. A man in West Virginia was arrested after he nearly drowned his wife and children in a bathtub and claims God told him to baptize his family. 36-year-old Leslie Kelly of Chapmanville was charged with attempted murder, domestic battery, and child abuse, creating the risk of serious injury. Kelly's wife told investigators her husband held her and the children underwater as part of Kelly's do-it-yourself baptism. Kelly is being held on $100,000 bond. Those were today's top crime stories. I'm Anthony Velez for Law and Crime.
Wow. A father and a husband is being held on attempted murder charges for trying to baptize his family in a bathtub. And he said that God told him to do it, and his family is pursuing murder charges. Charles, are you with me, our criminal investigator here? What do you make of this, and how do you prove that this is attempted murder? They survived.
Yeah, fortunately, right? I mean, this kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Susan Smith case where we're dealing with some sort of mental health issue where apparently somebody, this defendant thought that God was speaking to him and that this was an act that he needed to carry out. So I fully anticipate this will be some sort of mental health defense. And again, thank goodness that the mother and the children have survived this.
In your experience, would you see this as a successful mental health defense?
If there is such a thing.
He's saying God told him to do it. So there's temporary insanity there.
That's correct, which are always very difficult defenses to mount. But, there really is no other defense to this sort of act. So success is defined in different terms in this sort of case when you truly are dealing with what appears to be a mental health case.
We need a psychologist on set to help us evaluate this one.
Yeah, and that's certainly going to be a big part of the defense. Is the defendant will be subjected to a mental health evaluation to understand whether there's any type of prior mental health history, if there's some sort of psychotic episodes or delusion, any sort of what the defendant's medical intake or medicine intake may be. I mean, there's many different aspects to look at in trying to assess what was going on in the defendant's mind at the time that he chose to carry out these acts.
Absolutely. So it will become a battle of the experts. So crazy case, out of West Virginia. But back to another case we're following closely here. It's the Marine murders trial. We just did a recap before the top crime stories. A Marine was killed. He was killed, and we're going to do a recap of that story for those of you just joining us, when he was protecting his wife, who fell victim to two Kentucky men who are standing on trial right now, a death penalty trial, for shooting her husband in the back and killing him fatally with a gunshot wound to the heart, and then shooting her in the leg. Let's take a quick look at this package.